Hello everyone! So today is going to be kind of what I would consider an actual vlog because I'm actually taking this on the morning of this Monday, which is the 14th, I think. So it's just been a crazy last few weeks, and I had been planning on doing this video for a while, so thankfully I already had kind of my notes written down for what I wanted to say, but I didn't get a chance to record, and I'm kind of feeling a little bit under the weather until today. So yesterday was the Hunter's Moon, or the full moon in October. For me, I'm in the Northern Hemisphere, and I didn't do anything for it. Again, I'm kind of just like not feeling very well, and I just haven't had any time lately. My tire melted off the rim last week, and my dad's been in and out of the hospital, and it's just been a week. So today I wanted to actually do a vlog about what I mean when I say that I am a witch. So what I believe about witchcraft, and these things. Again, I'm not like some kind of, guru about this stuff. It's just gonna be me saying what I believe about witchcraft. So as I said in my Book of Shadows video, I consider myself to be a secular, agnostic, and eclectic witch. And I wanted to go over in more detail what those things mean to me today. I'll go ahead and link the Book of Shadows video in the description. A lot of people that practice witchcraft call themselves Wiccans. It's a nationally, in America where I live, recognized as a religion, and it's quite a big subset of people that consider themselves pagans. Actually, I don't consider myself to be Wiccan, and the reason is because Wiccans often worship a goddess figure, or just a specific preferred set of deities, sometimes from the Greek pantheon, sometimes from the Nordic one. And so I'm not really, I love mythology and things like that, but I'm not actually sure how I feel about deities as an entity. So that's kind of the secular and agnostic part for me, because secular being that I don't really see myself as a part of a religion that believes in a deity per se. And then the agnostic part is just because I'm open to the idea that there could be kind of a god figure or goddess figure or what have you, but I just don't believe that at the moment. And I'm still kind of evolving and thinking through how I feel about certain aspects of deities and from which cultures and things like that. I guess I'm still learning, even though I don't presently believe in any deities. If I don't believe in a god or a goddess, then what do I believe in? So I'm kind of a nihilist in general. I don't really think that, I don't personally know what happens after you die. Obviously, like, no one does, but I mean, like, I don't have a firm belief as to what happens. And I really want to say that I don't think anything happens when you die and there's no afterlife, but I don't know, I kind of go back and forth on that. But really the basis for what I believe in is energy. So it's all that kind of floaty, crunchy, hippie energy word, and that kind of describes magic for me. It's the forces that you can feel, and part of it is emotion, part of it is definitely perception. I definitely think that my idea of energy has a root in what you can perceive without necessarily concentrating on it. So a lot of almost subconscious processing combined with how you as a person perceive the world. And I also do think that as matter kind of interacts on a molecular level, apparently there are certain objects, you're always exchanging electrons with objects around you. And I think that that kind of scientific tidbit or fact really made me feel like, I am present with these objects around me and the people around me. And we are exchanging electrons, and even though it's on such a totally micro level, the literally atomic level, I think it's really cool that just by being there, you can kind of affect the things around you, even though there's not a huge, it's not all fireworks and Harry Potter and, Vegas magic tricks. It's all in how you're actively and passively interacting in the energies of the world and the people around you. So with both animate and inanimate objects. People say things like crystal vibrations or things like that. I'm not a personal believer in crystal healing. I just like crystals. I just think they're pretty. And but I think that's what people mean when they mean, kind of like the energy signature or the vibration of a certain crystal or a stone or something like that. I definitely do get a sense from certain objects. I feel a certain way about them. I don't really believe that the object itself is the thing kind of emanating this energy. I think for me, it's how I perceive the object and what meaning I choose to ascribe to it. So it's a lot less, I'm like scared to say this sometimes because I don't want to make it seem like I'm looking down on people that do believe that. It's just not from my experience. It's not really something that I've observed that I put a lot of meaning to for myself in my practice. And energy to me is also a personal component, so it's kind of, when a person goes in, like comes in a room and you can just feel that they've had a bad day. You don't really have to look at them, and it could just be little cues that I don't actively perceive, like maybe they're putting something down extra hard and I'm hearing that, but I'm not actively noticing it. So I think it's a bunch of those factors as well. But I think that the type of magic and the type of energy that I talk about does have a basis for me more in kind of my subtle psychological things, kind of just how I am perceiving the world around me, and the feeling that I get from it's very mindfulness centered, and it's very involved with how I assess and assign, I guess, agency to in my own mind. So even though I don't think I have big control over certain things around me, I think that witchcraft gives me the feeling of kind of harnessing whatever active energy I do have just in myself. And it really helps me manage my actions versus reactions. I definitely think that with witchcraft, it helps me really put in some kind of ritual or action things that I really hope. And it really empowers me to, I guess, take more action than I think that I would without it. So for instance, if I were to kind of like thoughts and prayers, like if I were to thoughts and prayers something, it would really be, hey, a friend is going through a hard time. Maybe I can do a ritual and think of ways that I could make their day easier. And the ritual is for me just to help me get to that action portion. It's kind of like when you're taking notes for a meeting and you're like, calls to action. Like, what did we actually decide to do? I know I struggle, and I've struggled with anxiety and depression my whole life, and using ritual and using these ways of thinking as a tool for me to kind of get myself out of my rumination phase and really focus on actions and the action phase of doing and the decision phase of doing stuff. That's really helped me out a lot with, I guess, just being overall healthier, both to myself and to other people. Because, you know, at the end of the day, I could think about them all I wanted, but it's nice to really have something where it'll kind of shake me out of just thinking about them and really doing something for them if possible. And if not, then, I don't know, maybe I can come up with like a cute little trinket, like some herbal soap or something to give them. So it really always nets kind of a positive effect for myself and the people that I love around me. So that's one thing that I really love about witchcraft and kind of the witchy community is no matter the differences in beliefs within the community, it tends to be, in my experience, a pretty positive place where you can just kind of brainstorm things to help care for you and yourself and the people around you, and all in this very easy language of your magic and your personal inner power and your perception. So I really think that that's really cool. So as for the eclectic part of things, it's mainly that I draw from practices and open traditions that I feel connected with instead of drawing from one specific path of witchcraft. This is my cat. Hi, Claire. Cat break. What was I even saying? There's a kitty in my lap. So I think what I was saying was I draw from practices and open traditions that I feel a connection to. And what that means is this is where the eclectic comes in. So, for instance, I'm Korean ethnically, but I was adopted, and I live with my Caucasian parents. Well, I don't live with them now, but I, obviously grew up with my Caucasian parents here in America. So I have had a very different experience than some of my peers who grew up with their Korean families, or who I have a few friends who live in Korea, but they came here for school, etc. So I think that I feel the need to learn more about Korean shamanism, so that I can incorporate some practices that I think make a lot of sense for my life into my own practice, calling back on my ethnic roots. And I also think that, anyone who incorporates their Nordic roots or their African roots or what have you, that's a totally valid way to practice. And so I really think that as long as now what I mean when I say open practice is there's a big conflict in the community about the word smudging, which is the burning of sage, white sage specifically, I think, in some tribes to clear negative energy in a room. And I personally don't use the term smudging. I'm not really comfortable with burning white sage because I feel like that also has a pretty specific significance in terms of smudging. So I kind of just avoid it altogether. I haven't done enough research on Palo Santo to know if that comes from an open practice. I've heard conflicting things about that. Sorry, this kitty. And so I don't really feel comfortable taking from those practices. So I don't really, and I also have myself and my boyfriend who I live with here, we have a smell sensitivity, and so I don't burn anything really. Even like a unscented candle is the farthest I'll go in terms of burning stuff around the house. But we have a tiny little like a air ionizer, like one of those plug-in air filters downstairs that doesn't smell like anything. So that's kind of like a running cleanse of energy of the house, because I do think that that's in many cultures where you can cleanse the energy of a space, but I definitely don't want to take from something that is not open for other people that are not of that culture to practice. So for me, I don't use the term brujeria, or I probably butchered that pronunciation, but I've seen bruja as a shamanistic or witch-like figure in other cultures' practices. So again, I'm not really familiar because I just don't do those things. So, and they're not really open to me, so I don't really need to deep dive into them if I'm not going to do anything about it. So they're just interesting to learn about. And I definitely encourage everyone to kind of be respectful of other people's cultures and traditions. So, yeah. I'm sorry, I keep getting distracted because she's purring, and it's the best. She's so warm. I might do another video about how I came to witchcraft in my adult life, but it's kind of, I want to kind of cut that out of this video for now, just because I think it would just take too long to talk about everything at once. So as far as my practice now, it's really based in when I learned how to spin and dye yarn with natural dye. I'd always been familiar with plant dye and interested in the process, so I started to spin yarn like 5 years ago or something, and I really became interested in, and I felt very connected to the natural world and the animals and plants that give us that fiber to use to do yarn crafts and do sewing and things like that, because you obviously need like wool for wool cloth and things like that. And kind of, I guess, the community of crafters always seemed to me to have a very magical property to like any kind of DIY or craft, because you're really putting yourself in something that you're doing, and I think that's, for me, a big component of witchcraft as well. So that's why I call myself the Knitterly Witch, because I've always felt really connected through the fiber arts, and I don't spin anymore. So I'm now just the Knitterly Witch, but I could have been the Spinnerly Witch, who knows. But I also wanted to footnote that even though I was brought up Catholic, I don't hold any kind of resentment against the Catholic Church. I'll joke about it sometimes, and I think that people have said before, like, some of the rituals and the sort of patriarchal aspect of the way that the church is structured, it never really sat well with me. But I'm also not one of those people that's like, the church is evil, that kind of thing. Like, I kind of went through that phase, but it didn't really stick. And I have a lot of old friends and people that I really respect that are Christian, and I think it's a beautiful way to worship, especially or really mostly when people realize that it's really just not supposed to be this language of hate against people that are different, like the LGBTQIA+ community, and when it's inclusive of the people that you're supposed to consider your brothers and sisters in Christ. So I think that, as much as I do know a lot about Catholicism, just because I grew up Catholic and I went to private Catholic schools for most of my education, so I do know quite a bit about being Catholic. I'm just not one, even though I was confirmed in the church and everything, but it was kind of more of that rote ceremony. I kind of just had to be, so at the time I didn't really know what to do to say, like, maybe no, this isn't for me. So I am technically confirmed, but I don't consider myself to be a Catholic, practicing Catholic, really. Reading my witchy books, which I'll probably do some witch book reviews on this channel, because this is the way that I've really come back to the practice the most comfortably, is to just read a bunch of books, get acclimated with modern witchcraft in 2019, and that's kind of how I came back to my having a stronger connection with witchcraft. And these authors really inspire me to do more in my practice and to be more active. And excuse me, I'm definitely losing my voice. No, kitty jumped off. Anyway, for, my witchy books, so reading those things really helps me to appreciate different aspects and different views on witchcraft. And but just because someone is Catholic, it doesn't really mean that I look down on them or anything like that. The writing in a book of shadows is a lot like, from what I understand, what Bible journaling is. It's just a way to kind of write down your reflections about your faith and really connect with what you're reading and incorporate that into your everyday life. I'm realizing also that everyone's faith journey is similar in a way that it's just kind of a deep dive into your beliefs. You're really just educating yourself about, something that's very important, which is your spiritual and your inner self. And that's really beautiful, no matter what religion or faith or whatever you subscribe to, is kind of that realization that you can always be better to yourself and the people around you. So I'm definitely working on that part, because I was not very healthy for a long time, and having more physical ailments in my adult life than when I was younger. That definitely has changed how I feel about really paying attention to myself and needing to take some time for myself. So my main objective, especially on this channel, is to inspire people to relax and give themselves that time that they need. So I really hope you guys find that here on my channel. I'd really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe. You can hit the bell for any notifications of when I upload new videos. It's supposed to be every Monday, so once a week, but sometimes I just get really busy, and like today I'm filming this on Monday, so I'm hoping that I'll get it done tonight, all the editing and everything. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.